Okay, so today's training session is on security, website setup. Let's see how to set up security accounts for our firewall. So basically, there's two parts to security. There is the monitoring part. This basically is a daily monitoring process that goes on the sites that we have connected with security. It gives us alerts if something is wrong or not working on the site, specifically in terms of malware warnings, or if the site is down, there actually is an uptime monitor with it. But its key and primary function that we intend for it is to tell us if there are malware or issues with malicious files or hacking attempts on a site. So the monitoring is one of the first things we set up. The second part that we use with security is the firewall. And this is, obviously is a blocking agent, a third-party blocking firewall that is supposed to be blocking malicious traffic to various sites. So all site traffic should be routed through firewall before it goes to our servers. So we do have other firewall options, and our servers have their own firewall installed in them. So it's like multiple layers and levels of protection, but this is kind of our first line of defense. So in order to set up a site, and today we're going to be working with the new Mills roofing website, we need to first of all set up the accounts on security. So first thing I like to do is go and set up the site monitoring. So I'll do a quick search here and see if there's anything set up. Now we have Miller's insulation here set up, but Mills is not. So I like to search just to make sure I'm not double adding sites. Next thing you do is you click on this little button up here that says Add Site. And I use, if we go back here, take this out, most of the sites are set up just using this format, www dot, and then the domain for the monitoring. When we first signed up for this service, that is what they recommended, so that's why we've always done it. That's just kind of a side note. I don't know that it matters, that it's really a huge issue if you don't use the www format, but this is how we do it. So you get the domain, paste it into the Add Sites field here, click the little green Add Sites button. So now this will sit and spin for a period of time. You don't have to sit and watch this. It's already doing its stuff, setting up the account. But we also need to connect this with the server somehow. So what we'll do is we'll click on Settings. And then up here there's a menu. You want to click Server Side Scanner at the top. And then it gives you the option to try to connect using FTP, which stands for File Transfer Protocol. That's a lot of more work, I feel, to try to set up an account for security to access the server and blah, blah, blah. So it's easier, I think, to just enable manually, which I'll do by clicking this button or this link. And then it gives you a download link here. This file needs to go on the web hosting server so that security can connect and monitor the server directly. So I click on this and it downloads the file. The next thing we need to do is we need to go into our server. And so I believe this is on our Dallas server. So we log into the WHM. And we click on list accounts. Now this is just how I do it. I happen to be going into this particular account's cPanel. And so this is how I like to do it. So here we see Mills Roofing Inc. and their cPanel link here, this orange CP. And again, there's more ways than one to do this. You could log in using FTP and upload the file. You know what? You could go directly to their cPanel through LastPass if you had that information, but this is how I like to do it. I just go through WHM, I find the account, click on cPanel, then I click on File Manager here to upload the file into their account. So that opens a new window. And this goes into the public HTML directory, which is the website, the main website directory. One thing I'm noticing here right off the bat is that we've got this file in here which should not remain in there. Once we fix the database, we need to get rid of this because it poses a security threat. So I'm going to go ahead and delete that out. If you ever see that fix DB file in there, feel free to remove it. You will find that if for some reason you didn't see it in there and it is in there, security will catch it when it does a scan. It will say, oh, there's a malicious file. It flags that as malware. So we use it for updating our database. So now we click on upload because we want this file to go into this main public HTML directory. So upload, select a file. I know that this goes into my downloads directory, and here is the file. You can see this was just downloaded from Security at 1:48 p.m. just 3 minutes ago. So click on that, select open. It says it uploaded the file. And if we go back to the public HTML directory, here you'll see the file that we uploaded, this security file with all the crazy numbers in it. Now we can jump back and look at security, and we have downloaded the file. We've uploaded it as per the instructions here into the root of our site account, and then it says click and verify to enable. So you click this, and there should be a nice little green, there we go, right up here, this little green site verified pops up. And now you know that it's ready and working through the monitoring. So there you go. This server-side scanner will run daily. So our monitoring is set up. Now we jump over to the firewall side of things. And it's a pretty safe bet that if Mills was not in the monitoring, it's not going to be in the firewall side either. So if you can't search and find the site, you're good to add it. Okay? Another thing to note is that you'll notice these do not have the www in front of them. And again, that's because when we first set this up, it recommended you just put the domain. So that's how we did it. So I've tried to keep it the same for every site. So we'll go ahead and add that domain, and there's options here to check if you're currently under a DDoS attack, which we're not, most likely not, or if you want to restrict access to the admin directories, which we do not do. We typically don't use that function, and we do not manage our DNS through security. So we never check any of these, but there are the option there.
You are going to be there?
Then you click on Add Site.
What are you doing that?
So this takes a couple seconds to run through its process. and it creates an account. So here is the firewall account for Mills Roofing Inc. And it was able to run through and find out that the site is currently pointed to this IP address, which is a dedicated IP that we set up for them on our server. And in order to activate the firewall, what we need to do is change our DNS records, which would be at our domain registrar, change it from this record, where it is pointing now, to this record, which is pointing to the security server. So then that effectively forces all the traffic to go to security first, and then security points it to our web server. Now, before we do that, we don't want to do that right away because it takes a while for this account to be set up properly. So they give you this internal domain right here. And so if you click on this right now, it says it's not configured yet. So it does take some time for this all to get set up. I usually wait a few hours and then come back and check on it, or you can wait until the next day, whatever. Come back and check on it. When you click on this link here and it brings you to the website, then you know it's ready. So once that actually happens, and sometimes I'll even wait even for a little while longer, because even though we're able to get through, it doesn't mean that every web server has propagated. So, but anyway, once that does go through, you're pretty safe to go in and change your DNS records to point through security. I'll just run through this too. So say we did wait that period of time and it was going through to the site and we knew we were ready to connect. What we would do is sign into our registrar in this case. Well, in this case, I don't believe they've been transferred to our account yet either, but you would sign in to your registrar, and I'm just going to use one of our domains here. So it's taking its time to load. And I'll try to pick one here that is probably a good one. I'm guessing this one is probably good. So you click on the domain, you scroll down to manage DNS, and you would change this record right here, the A record at the top. And you would change it from where it currently was pointing to the new security IP. And that's how that gets done. Now the final step is to, for a lot of our sites, we like to include the security plugin. And this makes a connection between your site and the firewall. So we'll go to plugins, we'll install the security plugin. Typically we'll generate an API key here. It asks you to do that up front. So we'll go ahead and do that. Unable to start. Let's try this again here. Okay, we'll come back to this. We'll come back to generating this key. It's one connection that you make between security plugin and the the security account, and it helps their monitoring. But the other part that we need to connect is that under Firewall WAF, there's a Firewall API key that needs to be connected. So we go back to security, we go to API, and here's the key for the plugin. So we'll copy this. I've been told, be very careful, do not click this refresh link. Just copy the key. And we jump back in here, we put that into here and hit save. And that makes a connection between the firewall and this plugin. The main benefit of that is to clear the cache. So anyone who's logged into the site as an administrator can come in here, click on Firewall, clear cache, and hit clear cache. So that's that connection. The last thing I'm going to do, I'm going to jump back here and try to generate an API key like we did before. I wonder if I need to uncheck that for now because the DNS is not set up. No. We'll come back to this. It may require a DNS setup. I'm not sure, but as soon as it's ready, we'll make the final connection so that the firewall is set up. But that is the gist of it, the basics of setting up firewall. So, and it looks like it seems to be working. So we'll give it a little bit more time before we set it. But that's how you do it. So, very good.